Hello, and thank you for joining me for the All About Technology podcast. My name is Jeff Burel. I'm your host. And on this episode, I am joined by two of our technicians here at CatchMark, Connor Raeth. Hello, Connor.
Hello.
And Jonah Kelley. Hello, Jonah.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Today's episode, we're going to talk to these young men about how they got into tech, what they like about working at CatchMark, some of the things that they enjoy within the tech field, and anything else that they would like to talk about regarding their experience. So I will probably refer to these two as kids several times. I'll refer to myself and the rest of the team as the old guys. So let's start with you, Connor. Let's talk first. How did you get into tech?
Well, I would say it mostly started, obviously my dad,
Forced upon you. Right?
Yeah. Growing up, I always just thought it was kind of a cool thing, like being able to fix things, being able to be in the future, because tech is the future, and being able to kind of use that and then help other people use it and aid other people in using that. That's kind of where it all kind of got started. And then having a father who has experience doing that every day and has for, 20 years, that helps. And that kind of motivates you to go along. And then, that's where I would say at least I got started. I don't know if that kind of answers your question or not, but
yeah, it's good except for the whole growing up part, because you're what, 19, 18?
18.
Okay, so thus far in growing up, I think there's still some to go. How about you, Jonah?
Yeah, I was kind of always a guy that was trying to hack into his games on his phone and on his PlayStation, and I just kept doing that for a while and kind of turned into the tech guy in the family. Never had any idea I'd go into it, even after I started college. I was always kind of a math guy, but then I dropped calculus twice, once in high school, once my freshman year of college, so I kind of gave that up. And I took a computer class, and I just loved it, so went with it from there.
The family tech guy is a great job too, isn't it?
Oh, it's wonderful. So fun.
Yeah. Jonah, how old are you?
24.
Okay. So just for reference, when we're talking about, the kids and how young you guys are. So I'm 46. I've been doing this stuff, much like Brent, for a little over 20 years. And when I was in high school, I'm going to talk about how old I am, but there wasn't really even, the internet was a new thing. We didn't really have, other than some CAD classes, computers. And for me, I was going to college, I was going to be an engineer. And while I enjoyed math, I really did not want to take all the math classes that were going to be required for engineering degree. Ferris had a CIS program, and I'm like, okay, computers could be fun. So that's how I got down this path. Excuse me. So, so you guys explained how you kind of got into it. What did you do as far as schooling goes to help you get prepared for where you are now?
Oh, well, I personally, I was, like I said, my dad I grew up in doing this all the time. And so I kind of had a head start on a lot of people. At 10, I was helping fix my grandma or grandpa's computers or things like that, fixing problems all around the house, things that every day for most people doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. For me, I got that experience because my dad has to put in a rack at the house and with the full network switch stack and so I got to help in all that. And then I would also say I got some experience through, trying to, those things that he did implement, I would try and find ways around them. Right.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard plenty of stories.
So he'd set up a Synology router with firewalls on it. And I'd be like, well, and it would shut off at 12 and I wouldn't be able to get any internet. And so I'd sneak my phone downstairs and I would get on my computer and be like, okay, I want to have internet till 12. Let's figure out how to do that. And then I would Mac spoof my computer. So I'd get internet and then hotspot off my computer to be able to get internet on my phone and be able to do what I wanted, watch YouTube, do whatever. And so, that's where I got a lot of my experience from. And then towards the end of high school, when I realized I can actually use this to do something useful rather than just break through my dad's internet firewalls and things like that. I went through the Career Tech Center. They got a lot of good experience through that. And then I interned here until June of last year, and then I came on full time here in June.
Gotcha. You picked the right path, because I saw some of the videos of you and your brothers sneaking around the house trying to do this stuff. And let's just say your tech skills are better than your spy and sneaking skills.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
Cameras clearly just crawling right in front of the cameras.
Yeah.
But how about you, Jonah?
Yeah. So after my first semester of college, I took a computer programming class, and I didn't love the programming part of it so much. I like dealing with people. Kind of have a business mind more than a programming mind, I think. So I found out, there's a side of tech that is not sitting behind a computer, just coding stuff all day. So I was like, I want to go into that. So I started taking classes at West Shore Community College. It was pretty cool. I was able to do 3 years there, and then 2 years at Ferris. And I think I only had 12 credits a semester at Ferris too. So I kept my workload pretty low, and to get my bachelor's.
Nice.
And CIT there. So that was cool.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of people, just to explain the programming versus, we'll say, like the support and solution stuff, we don't really do any of the programming stuff. That's where you're, like Jonah said, writing the code, and actually that's the back of what makes applications and stuff work. That does take a very special person, as does the support stuff. A lot of the tech guys get a bad rap of being the guy in the back room, drinking Mountain Dew all night and black hoodie. And those people are important, but it is very different than what we do here. And I'm with you. That is not for me. I don't have the attention span or the focus ability to be able to sit there and just work out all those issues.
Yeah, no, I couldn't either. That would suck, at least for me, because I like to talk to people, and having to sit in a room and type for that long I couldn't do that. I'd have carpal tunnel by like 25.
Right. So one of the things I want to focus on, so Jonah, you got a degree. Connor, you came right out of high school, did go to the CTC and got some certifications, but I think there's a lot of misconception that you have to have a degree and you have to have, all this experience to work in an atmosphere like we do. And that's so far from the truth. I know when I was getting my degree, there was a lot of stuff in there that I honestly haven't ever used. And then there's a lot of stuff. So I finished my degree after I had already been a sysadmin. So I'm going through these classes and I'm like, this isn't real life for me. Like, I know a lot of what I'm dealing with, and it's not this type of stuff. So, I mean, if someone out there is interested in doing what we do here, and they're just like, well, I'd love to do that, but I don't want to go to school. I mean, would you agree that you can be successful without that degree?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I would say 90% of the book stuff is it's useful in its own way, but at the same time, I would say I think there's been 2 times where I've used something out of a book, because tech moves so fast that book's obsolete in 2 weeks, right. 2 years. It could be any number of date, but it's going to be pretty quick. So, like, for example, I took my A+, and the first part of the A+, and when I took that, they had stuff about DDR2. I'm never going to touch the pins on a DD. I'm not going to worry about the pins on a stick of DDR2. I don't like the oldest I've ever even touched is DDR3. Like, so it doesn't really, for me, it was always more just having personal skills, being able to talk to people, explain things, walk them through what I'm actually doing so that they can understand where we're coming from and what we're trying to do to help them. Those are so much more important than even the tech skills itself. The tech skills obviously help and are important, but I would say the schooling doesn't give you the personal skills that you necessarily need in order to be successful in a field like this. Right.
Jonah, what are your thoughts?
I think you can definitely be successful. I mean, we've got a number of guys here who don't have degrees that are working and doing well. I think it comes down to the employer, though. I do think most tech employers don't require a degree, but I do know there are some out there. As far as actual skills go, no, I don't really think you need a degree to get, to work on your skills. My college experience helped me a lot, like Connor was talking about with the people side of things. Mm-hmm. So I do think that is helpful for people who don't have those skills naturally.
Yeah.
That college experience might be helpful. But yeah, no, generally, no, you don't need it. I mean, we just Google things all day anyways.
Right.
So.
Cut that out. The people skills are very important. It's hard to say they're more important than the tech skills, but with what you guys do on a daily basis, you're constantly talking to customers, whether it's via email or through chats or texts or a lot of different ways. And that is such a key piece. I mean, you can be the smartest tech guy in the state, in the world, whatever, but if you cannot talk to customers, what we do is going to be extremely difficult for you to be successful at, correct?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. You should go into programming.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really, I think, what happens with a lot of those people. Excuse me. So the next question I have is explain to everybody kind of your background so far in your career. Was CatchMark your first job? Kind of touch on a little bit, or if you've worked other places doing tech. We'll start with Jonah this time.
Yeah, so I started out by doing 2 internships at West Shore Community College. The first one was really cool. I got to the West Shore uses, and a lot of colleges use a student management program called Genzabar software. And so I actually got the internship was actually through Genzabar. And I got to go out to Nashville for a week, and that was pretty sweet. Right. I was a freshman in college, and that's kind of what really kickstarted me. But then I did another internship at the college. And those were cool because, I mean, I was doing stuff where I had to, like my first internship, like 2 weeks in, I had a meeting with I think it was the vice president or the president of the college at West Shore. And I was just like, so terrified as a 19-year-old, just like, I better not screw this up. My dad works up there too. Like I can't be having
even more pressure.
Yep. But yeah, no, that went great. And then I got a job at Hesperia Community Schools doing tech support for them part-time. Then I went to ICS Data in Muskegon for a little bit doing tech support, and that was really great for as far as my experience. They threw me right in there, and I was learning all kinds of things pretty quick. Then I started doing my own thing for a little bit, and then I started at CatchMark a little while ago.
Gotcha. So how many years, total would you say?
5 or 6. 5 or 6. Probably. Yeah.
Okay. Connor?
Well, like I said, CatchMark is really my first full-time, every day coming in job. I interned here for 3 years, roughly 3 years. I've done every job in this pretty much, other than the administration stuff. I've done every job around here. I started when we were doing connectivity. That was my first job. I watched one of our teammates, Curtis, go through a ceiling at a church, and
I remember that.
Watched his foot go right through the ceiling, and that was my first big job. We were pulling cable for cameras, and then once we got through that, and I realized this could be kind of a cool thing. I went and kind of started exploring options, and that's when I found the tech center. And through the tech center, and COVID actually helped a lot with this. As a junior in high school, that's when you can usually start going to the tech center, and with COVID, because of the way that schools were doing their schedules, it would be for high school, it was Monday. My schedule was Monday, Wednesday, and then every other Friday we would go to school. And then for career tech, we'd go to Monday, Tuesday. And those are the 2 days you were mandatory to go and drive up to Muskegon and go to the tech center. And so I would, on the other 3 days other 2 days when I'd go to school till 10:15 or whatever, I would come in after that and I would do work for the rest of the day up until I had practice or whatever else I was doing. And so I interned and got a lot of experience through that for 2.5 years, and then started full time last June. So yeah, I have a lot of experience, I would say. Some might say an internship doesn't give you that experience, but I would say in this case, it really helped develop me enough to, by the time I graduated, being able to turn around right after my graduation and start full time. I don't even think I had my open house yet when I started.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the type of internship makes a difference too. So like Jonah said, you were kind of thrown in. I know we throw our interns in, we want to throw them in as soon as possible. We're not going to throw them in day one where customers get upset or they completely fail. But Brent and I are both firm believers in sink or swim, right? Like get in there. That's the best way to learn, is by actually doing the work. You can take all the certifications, you can read all the books, you can read documentation, but at least for me, until you start doing it, it just isn't the same thing. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. It definitely helps to be able to be thrown in a safe environment where you got support.
Yep.
It's pretty. That's what I like that about CatchMark quite a lot. Is you guys throw us in, but you got support if we don't
Right.
succeed at the first time.
I remember my interview before I started interning. Just to go back to throwing you in, you guys gave me like a 2-foot long cable and said, "Make this cable while you're talking to us." Little did I know it was double shielded outdoor cable that I had like one of the plastic cutters to cut the shielding off, and then it was double shielded, and then it had like the tin foil, I don't know what it is, but stuff in it, and then I had an end to put on, and then I had to test them both. It took me like 25 minutes talking and doing that to even get the ends on, and then I don't think it worked. So I had to cut the ends off.
It didn't work. I remember. And the only thing that the major problem there is that we didn't record that, because that would be internet gold. Watching Connor, he's confident, and he thinks he's ready for the interview, and then that piece gets thrown out there, and he's just like, right now, you want to do this like right now? And then he started doing it, and then we started asking questions at the same time. It was very entertaining. A little special treatment for you. So explain to everybody listening, what's a normal day at CatchMark for Connor?
Well, come in at 11, eat lunch, go home. No, I would say you get in here. The first thing I always do is I update my calendar based on if anything happened overnight that I have to worry about. And then I kind of look at my day, look at how many tickets I have, and I go through and just start working on them, get those things done. And then around lunchtime, when it's time to go eat, I'll go find somewhere to eat, or I'll go run home quick, and then I'll come back. And the second half of my day a lot of times is more project work, or like, say, for example, I have to get this checklist done for a customer. I'll go through, I'll sit down, I'll get the checklist done, and then I'll send out the update email or whatever. And so the second half is kind of the more big tasks that I have to get done. And the first half is really tickets, getting those tickets done, making sure my ticket count stays down. And then I wrap up the day with putting in my time and making sure my calendar's up to date, and then going home.
Right. Jonah, pretty similar?
No, I don't know how he keeps his day so structured. Yeah, that's the part I like about tech.
Hold on. So it always goes like that too, right? Like nothing ever gets thrown at you in the middle of the day that derails it. Like
it always goes that way.
Somebody releasing, emails from spam filters that they probably shouldn't release, and
cybersecurity incidents every hour.
Yeah.
No, I mean it with like most things, it changes. Not every day do I get to not do tickets all day for the second half of the day, or sometimes I don't have any tickets. Like when we get slow during the winter, I won't have any tickets, and so I'll in those mornings I get more time to do the things that I needed to get, the bigger tasks that I need to get done, like checklists or project work or things like that. So yeah, I mean it changes, it ebbs and flows, and I mean I wish it was always that structured to make it easy.
You'd really like it to be the same like that every day?
I wouldn't say the same, but
he's a creature of habit, Jeff.
Well, I know Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but I just know when I did tech support, like if it was the same thing, like just tickets all day, every day, I would have lost my mind. And
me too.
Yeah, sprinkling in the project work, and
I would say it's like, for me at least, if say there was 10 tickets submitted, the variety of tickets, it doesn't matter. Like if I could just close those 10 tickets, then the rest of the day I have like project work, it'd be fine with me. I'd like that. If every day was like that, I would love it.
All right, we'll mute Connor's mic and maybe come back to him. All right, Jonah, what about you? How would you explain a normal day for
I'd
Jonah?
explain how my week went, or my day went a couple weeks ago. I started the morning, Friday morning, started it in Grand Rapids at a customer site, tearing cable out of an old building. Around lunchtime, I headed back to the Whitehall office, was going to sit at my desk and take care of a bunch of stuff, a bunch of ticket work. I was able to do that for about an hour, and then a server went down for another client. So I had to drive up to their site, and I was working at a hardware store for the rest of the day and over the weekend as well. Yep. I mean, it's all over the place. I like the mix of being able to work at your desk and take care of tickets and background tasks, but then also being able to do the project work, work with people. That's what I like doing a lot.
Gotcha. So when you guys talk about project work, I will say your main responsibility is really taking care of the customers, right? Like that's what we really focus on first, whether that's the tickets that come in or the project stuff. So explain to the people listening what you mean by the project work and how that's different than the normal ticket troubleshooting stuff.
Yeah. So typically when we support a customer, they can, whatever they have coverage for, they can submit an email, give us a phone call, and we'll help them out with, say they're having issues, new emails aren't coming in. So that's kind of what our typical day-to-day things looks like. But then we also might do things where we are adding wireless coverage for a building, for a new building at a business. So then we're actually physically out there running that cable, testing it, things like that, is where project work mostly falls. There's some things like email migrations that you'll be doing at your desk and stuff, but yeah.
All right, Connor, anything to add?
I mean, piggybacking off of Jonah a little bit, it's project work can be all kinds of things. A lot of people think tech guys just sit at a desk and just type all day, like we were saying earlier, and that's not really the case. You might be out at we do some dairy support. You might be out at a dairy pulling cable and putting up an AP or a point-to-point, as Curtis does a lot of the time. And then some days you might be sitting at your desk setting up emails. I would say for majority of the project work for at least me is email migrations, setting up servers, virtual servers with Azure or something like that, and then doing some networking stuff, setting up like a server, or not a server, but a switch or like a UDM or something like that. 90% of what my project work is usually that, or helping somebody else with theirs, which like helping Ethan run cable or things like that.
Right. So if I sit at a desk all day, that's why I'm no longer called a tech guy, right? Because I've been told I'm not a tech guy anymore because I don't do tech work and I just sit at a desk. So if maybe I went out to the customers once in a while, I could still refer to myself as a tech guy.
Maybe.
That probably.
When was the last time you closed a ticket?
That's probably more accurate.
He has to think about it.
Yeah.
So there's your answer.
So yeah. I don't believe I have closed a ticket in our current system. So that's about 6 months at least, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's probably for the best that we change the subject here. I don't. I like to still think of myself as a tech guy, but as I sit and listen to you guys talk, and it just changes so fast. I mean, it's probably been 7 to 8 years since I was really doing tech work. Since that time, I've been in manager and leadership roles, but where things were at then to now, it's just amazing how different it is. I mean, I could probably figure it out, but it's all just changed so much that for God, just hand it off to you guys and you do a better job.
Well, and that goes back to my point about when I was taking the A+, you're seeing they're asking a question about DDR2,
right?
Which hasn't been a thing for 10 years. Or I mean, it's a thing, but not used.
Not something you do every day.
Yeah, and it's just so fast. I mean, in 10 years, we're at DDR5, which is quadruple the speed of DDR2 was. Yeah. And so things like that, just it moves so fast. Even the certification stuff, it's 2 years and you could be 2 generations already past what you were. I mean, for example, Wi-Fi. It wasn't that long ago that Wi-Fi was limited to 50 megs down, and we were at Wi-Fi 4. I mean, that was 5 years ago, and now we're at Wi-Fi 6E, which is almost 1.5 gigs down, and you're looking at bigger ranges, 6 gigahertz, things like that, and that's only over 5 years.
And so much of that's taken for granted too, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just assumed that everywhere I go now, I'm going to have wireless available, whether it's a hotel or restaurant, anywhere. Like you're just going to have it. And when they don't, it's like, well, this prehistoric place? Like, what do you mean you don't have free Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Why don't we talk a little bit about how you guys continue to stay up on this stuff and continue to, to learn the changing technologies and some of the approaches to doing that. Jonah?
Oh, you're forced to.
Right.
It's Yeah, Google's helpful, like we were
Right.
not talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is true. Like, I mean, even like GPT, it's like those are great resources for us.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to do, well, I don't feel they can do everything, but it's definitely helpful when you get some crazy off the wall thing, right?
Yeah. No, I kept asking, one of my first internship, I kept asking my professor a lot of questions. And so he just said, one day he said, let me send a link to you for that. And it was let me Google that for you link, where it
I forgot about
shows
that.
a
That's
little
great,
image
yeah.
that, types in your question right into Google and clicks search for you.
Yep.
And he said, Jonah, you got to learn how to Google things.
Yeah.
If you want to be in tech, you got to be able to figure things out yourself. So yeah, just, customer coming to you with a new technology they want to implement, or if you're seeing something that's not efficient at a customer site and you're like, well, maybe, is there any way we can improve this? You research some options, and yeah, you're just doing the work every day. You're kind of forced to keep up with the latest trends, especially at an MSP. At some internal companies where you don't maybe have to, you're just kind of stuck in your one environment there. Mm-hmm. You might stick with some things that are old technology. Especially at MSP, you're always up to date on the latest stuff.
Yeah, I noticed.
You're doing it for multiple companies.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things, because I came from a corporate environment before coming to CatchMark, and just what do you mean we have like 30 or 40 different environments? Because where I was at, it was like, well, this is the environment, and we use this app, and it's done this way, and then now it's every customer is different. I mean, we'd love to say they're all the same, but they're not. They all use technology, but how and where their focuses are and what's important to one customer may not be as important. Like, well, if our printer goes down, we can't ship anything, and that's the most important thing there is. Where somebody else is like, I don't care if I can't print.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, like Jonah said, some of it's forced. Personally, I like knowing about it. I play a lot of games on, like I play video games on my computer, like Call of Duty, things like that. And so being able to know what tech is on the horizon for me is one force, but also because I have interest in it. If it's better tech, I want it because it gives, I have better performance or better capabilities on my computer because I can upgrade it and put different things in it to help that. And then going to Jonah's point with the forced, it's over time you're forced to look at new things, and you have so many customers around here, especially that are looking to update and upgrade and constantly. If you upgrade 2 years ago and you get busy and you're not thinking about it, in 2 years they're going to want probably another upgrade. And you got to, so at all times you got to know what's out there, what's the newest thing, what's the most up to date thing, and so that you can provide them with the best service and the best tech at the time for them to make the best choice that they can for their environment.
Yeah, good points. So the very first thing that we talked about was how you guys are the young guys on the team. How helpful is it to have a team with guys that have had, that have more experience than you and that have done a lot of this stuff to bounce ideas off of and learn from?
Oh, it's definitely helpful. And I especially having Ethan on the team as far as his networking knowledge goes is just, it helps quite a bit. Although I will say this is the first job I've had with people closer to my age than my previous places, actually.
That's good.
So it's almost a nice change of scenery for me.
Right.
But yeah, no, having experience and leadership on a team is always crucial.
Okay.
Same thing. I mean, it's been extremely helpful. Like I don't have to worry. I don't have to spend 2 hours Googling something to be able to figure out if this is the right choice. I can go to Seth or I can go to Ethan and ask him, hey, what do you think about this? Or Bob even, and say, what do you think about this? And what's the best choice to go with here? Is this where we should be going? Is this the direction we should be going? And am I making the right choice? That experience that they have makes that so much quicker and so much easier. For me, especially being only 18 and being in this field is tough because you might know all the new things, but a lot of the older things and all that it's harder for you to figure them out. Right. It's harder for me to understand how Windows XP works because I've never had to use it, right? Whereas if somebody asked me something about Windows 11 or Windows 10 or even Windows 8 or even 7 for that matter, I would probably know where something was in a heartbeat.
Yep. And that the amount of time it takes you to get that solution is huge to the customers. So there's a fine balance there, right? Like I can sit here and I'll go to Google or I'll try and research something. And then at some point you're going to pull that ripcord and reach out, or maybe you reach out first, right?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a fine line that you have to balance between, do I figure this out myself, or do I bring somebody else into this and they can point it out to me right away? Typically it depends on how urgent the item is.
Yeah.
It's like, well, is it more important that I learn this or more important that I, get them up and running quickly?
Right. And I see a lot of the conversations in our group chat about this, but when you guys ask for help or anybody asks for help, if somebody steps in and helps you out, it's not like you guys aren't going back and, okay, show me how you did that, or what did you do? I mean, everybody wants to learn on our team, and I think that's a big piece of it as well.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say, is that whenever, at least when I'm doing something and I have help, I'm always trying to learn, like trying to figure out, how did you do that? Can you show me how you did that? Because I don't want to go into the next, say this situation happens again, I don't want to go into it and not know what after already having this happen, I want to learn from it. I want to figure out, why did this happen and how can I keep it from happening again, and be able to provide, and that provides the best experience for customers and provides them with the knowledge and the know that I'm going to be able to help them quicker and easier the next time it happens, or even happens again.
Right. And the flip side of that is, if you go to Ethan and ask him to help you with something, he's going to definitely help you. But if you go to Ethan 5 times over 2 weeks for the same issue, he's going to help you all 5 times, but there might be another conversation going there about, hey, you can't just offload this all on somebody else. You got to try and learn here too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been told that if I wasn't doing tech, I should be a teacher. Coming from a family of high school and college teachers, it's helpful to be able to explain that to the end user as well, and really get them on the same level of understanding that you're on with tech, and kind of translate it from the DDR3s to what is DDR3?
Right. I almost went there, but we don't have enough time to get into all that today. But so the environment I came from, corporate environment, very siloed. So there was a server team, there was a desktop team, and there was a networking team. And that was my first and only experience outside of CatchMark. And I just kind of assumed that's the way it was. Like, everybody was, you had one area, you were an expert, and that's just how it was. It's much different here. You got to kind of know a little about a lot. And then we have a pretty good balance of our team of experts in different areas. Like we mentioned Ethan with the networking, but have you guys ever thought about what it would like? Some days I wish I was just a networking engineer or just a server admin or something like that. Or do you guys really think you'd be bored with that and you rather know a little about a lot?
Well, that's what ICS did. I don't think it was official like in our job titles, but we had a networking guy, we had a server guy, and I didn't love it because you just don't move up as fast, you don't learn as much. And so it's really it gets really monotonous just doing the same old, going to a resident's house and troubleshooting their router, 30, 40, 50 times.
Right.
It gets pretty old. That's why I like being able to learn in a variety of different areas in the tech space.
Yeah. Connor?
I mean, I would say the same thing. I think I would personally get bored with it. I don't really care to do server stuff all the time. But then if it's needed, I can do it, right?
Yeah.
I think being able to go to somebody who has been in that, so maybe Seth or somebody like that who has that experience, say they've been doing servers, and with us, they know a lot about a little, they know what they're talking about when it comes to servers. So now I can go to them, get that knowledge, and I have a little bit of that knowledge. And then now if I have another issue with maybe a networking thing, I go to Ethan, ask him, and now I have a little bit more network knowledge. Overall, it gives CatchMark as a whole, we can cover more areas and cover those areas with better knowledge. The more that we have, the more we can expand with our internal knowledge and our knowledge base, I guess you could say.
Yeah, good point. I'm going to share a story here about Curtis when he interviewed with us. So he interned with us as part of his bachelor's degree. And then out of that internship, we hired him full time. But when he came in and interviewed for the internship, we were asking him, well, what do you want to do after college? What are you thinking? What in the tech field do you want to do? He goes, I don't know, but I don't want to do tech support. I'm like, okay. And then at the end of the internship, after he had gotten a taste of it and we brought him on, he's like, yeah, I'm good with this. His whole idea was on the programming side, and he admitted that he just didn't really know as much about like the MSP work that we do, because most of the attention is, oh, you can do computer programming. But I tease him about that every once in a while because it's the one thing he said he doesn't want to do. He's been doing it now for close to 5 years and does really good at it too.
He does it for Darius too.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a tech guy who wants to do tech support in general.
I don't know how much want there is. He's willing. That might be a better way to do it. Like, willing. I don't know anybody that really wants to do tech support at a dairy.
Smells bad. Yeah, there's these pools that literally poop.
Yeah. Well, it smells bad and it sticks with you.
Yeah.
Like the first time I went, I remember just a tour of dairy. I got home and I walked in the house and Tanya's like, get outside. Like you stink. And all I did was kind of ride around and look around. It's not like I was crawling around.
Yeah. You do get to see baby cows every once in a while.
Yeah, that is.
I did remember that very vividly when I went with my dad when CatchMark first started. That was one thing I remember. It was going and seeing all the baby cows. And we even got to see one that had just been born, like sitting in the hay.
Yeah,
just went and saw him.
That is cool.
But yeah.
So before we wrap up, the last couple of things I want to talk about here with you guys is, in addition to being part of our tech team, you both have done some stuff with Sportsnet, whether it's calling games. How much fun is that stuff to do for you guys?
I have fun doing it when I get into it. I have a hard time balancing the tech and the sports side of things, but once I'm in the sports stuff doing it, it's pretty fun to. It's kind of rare to be able to talk about sports so much in a tech environment, and there is no lack of sports talk at CatchMark. So it's kind of a pretty cool fit for me, especially like coaching soccer at Shelby, and did
you
soccer.
Weren't supposed to say that yet. That's the last question.
Oh,
that's
dang it. But being involved in soccer, basketball, baseball, growing up in high school, and then also being in tech, it's a pretty good place.
Right.
We do those two things.
Yeah, exactly.
Tech and sports.
Right, Connor. You enjoy it, don't you?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I've been doing announcing for 2 years now. And the one thing I would say is I have a little bit different experience than everybody here. I got that my senior year, my junior year, CatchMark Sportsnet was built. So I got the perks of that, where I get to, when I had my golf season, I had a chance at being CatchMark Sportsnet Player of the Year last year, and like things like that, or Player of the Week, all that stuff. I got a unique experience to see what that looks like as the player, and then now on the backside, being able to do the announcing and knowing the players and things like that. It's a whole different ball game, and it's I love it. I mean, we're looking at doing maybe a golf meet, and I might get to announce that, and so that I'm really excited for that, and being able to do that, get my golf announcer voice on, and it's gonna be fun.
I would love, we need to get you and your dad to announce and see if the two of you can talk quiet enough to announce golf, because I'm saying no. You talk about Player of the Year, so as we're recording this, the winner 2020, the 2023 winner Player of the Year voting is going on, and you're on the panel that selected those. You getting any side comments from anybody about the selections?
A lot of people are just grateful that we do it. So I don't hear a lot of stuff about that. I more hear about this guy should have won it, because the way we do it is me, Tate, and Scott. We sit down and last week we had our meeting. We sit down and we say, who are the best players or best athletes in these sports across the conference? And we go through and we pick those. And a lot of times, maybe the best athlete, because after we pick them, they go to a vote. Maybe the best actual player or athlete who should win it doesn't win it because they got outvoted. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you hear some stuff about that from parents or things like that, where they just their player didn't get voted enough, so they didn't get that, but they were still nominated. So that's sometimes where you hear it, but a lot of times I think the nominations are, people know it. You know who the best player is.
I think so too.
You know who's going to be on that list, and
especially if you're taking 3 from each sport. Like now, I mean, okay, there's probably more than 3 good boys basketball players.
Yeah.
But picking 3 that kind of stand above the rest, maybe not always super easy, but some of the names there, I don't follow it as close as I used to, but I recognize the names too. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
All right, and then the last piece that Jonah kind of touched on already is you guys are both doing some coaching for high school sports, and that's a big part of what we do at CatchMark is trying to give back to the community, and as part of that, having the flexibility and having a team that supports you to cover when you're gone, so that you guys can help out the schools and the kids is something that I think is pretty cool. So, Jonah, talk about what you're coaching again.
Yeah, so I coach JV boys soccer at Shelby. And in my interview, I brought it up like, hey, I am going to be doing coaching in the fall. And I think in about 5 seconds, you guys are like, oh, it's no big deal. We got people here that coach. That's fine.
As long as the work gets done, whatever.
Yeah, so that's pretty rare to find in the tech space. I thought I was going to have to be doing tech and education in order to be able to get out on time to coach.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's been great. I love just working with the kids. They keep you young, definitely. I just love the energy they bring every day, and I like being able to try and give them the best experience I can for high school sports.
That's great. How long you been coaching that?
2 years.
Okay.
This will be my third this year. Yeah.
Gotcha. And Connor, tell everybody what you're up to.
So I right now I'm doing kind of three things. I did coach White Lake boys basketball for a little bit, and then after that season kind of ended, I had a few guys who wanted to do some training. So I've been doing some training on the side where I help a few guys and help them develop skills that they need for when they do get in high school, because the White Lake stuff is 6th through 8th. So when they get in high school, they're going to need some other skills that they might not have right now, or that they might need have a little bit of but need more of type of stuff. And then right now in this current moment, I'm coaching assistant coaching Shelby boys golf, and then next year hopefully I'll be able to take over fully and coach that full time. And yeah, it's been awesome being able to get out and help the community, and help. Even though I'm 18, I have a lot of knowledge in golf, and being able to give that to the guys and the guys on the team is super rewarding. When you see a guy who went from topping a ball every time he took a swing to hitting it 150 yards and straight and doing that consistently, that's one of the most rewarding things in coaching for me, at least. And it's super exciting.
I might need to get some tips from you because you've seen my golf game. There's another thought there that just slipped my mind. I don't remember what it was. All right. Anything else you guys want to mention? Any shout outs? You good?
I'm good.
I'm all good.
All right. Well, thank you both for taking the time to be part of this episode. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys being great teammates, helping all our customers, and look forward to seeing you guys grow over the years. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in today. This has been the All About Technology podcast. I'm Jeff Burel, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you.